Welcome back, episode 4 of Red Wine and CBD, the podcast. We're excited to keep this podcast going. I think we've covered a pretty wide array of topics so far. We've talked about a lot of the uses that CBD can you use for in your daily life. We talked red wine and, kind of what we want this podcast to be, as well as the blog on queencitygreen.com is kind of a companion to help your overall health and wellness, right? So today we brought on a friend of ours named Allie Sebastianelli, and she is certified in nutrition and does a lot of great work with health and wellness. So Allie, why don't you give a little background on what you do and just how you got into the health and wellness field?
So I got into it after moving to Florida from Ohio. I moved down here and didn't know anyone. So kind of got depressed and gained a bunch of weight because my friend was the TV and food. So about a year after, I saw myself in the mirror and said, okay, enough's enough. I got to do something about this. So I went on my own little weight loss journey, lost 30 pounds and got inspired to help others. So I got certified as a person, doing almost 9 years now. And then recently I got certified as a nutritionist so I can further help people with their health and wellness goals.
That's fantastic. So I think one of the biggest things, and I think it's relevant, especially this time of year, right? Because everyone's New Year's resolution is you want to do better, get in shape, and kind of make lifestyle changes, right? And I think for a lot of people, one of the biggest hangups is that first step, right? So in your professional opinion, what is one of the biggest hurdles that you see, or one of the best ways you can just get out there, or something to try to take that first step in the journey of health and wellness?
Eating healthy, number one, first and foremost. Healthy food is pretty much the battle for everybody. You can't outwork out a diet. So it's just taking a look what's in your pantry. If you're seeing a lot of foods that have toxic ingredients like seed oils, vegetable oils, like number one, canola oil, number two, seeing those things, getting those out of your pantry and just getting well-rounded organic foods, and just trying to cook some chicken with, some broccoli and mushrooms and brown rice, and just cleaning up your diet. Number one.
It sounds so easy to do.
It is, and it does. It sounds so easy to do, but it's not. That's the big. All of my clients have had.
So when the client, and first of all, thank you for joining us, and second, so like when a client, when they come to you, like where do you start? Like what's the first? Do you go through a routine where you ask them kind of what their daily routine is as far as wellness, health, workout, eating, all that stuff? Or is there like a list of questions you kind of go through, like a checklist to see like, do you ever kick someone out after going through the initial step saying that I can't help you? So
not yet, thankfully. Not kicking out yet. So
you haven't met Tom yet though. So
yeah,
I guess he might be the first one.
Yeah.
I have forms that every client has to fill out, and then we do an initial consult for the Zoom, or if they're local, we meet up. And we go through, what nutrition look like, how many hours a week do you have to move your body? What do you cook with? Are you cooking with oils, or how do you cook? Are you using an air fryer, stove, grill, etc.? So lots of questions that are involved before starting the process.
So question I have personally, olive oil better than anything? Is the olive oil the best thing to cook with?
Extra virgin olive oil. That's your go-to.
EVVO, the old special. Jenny, is that what you cook with?
Yeah. Yep.
John, what do you cook with? Crisco?
Yeah. No, it's we joke I'm the baby of the group, right? And I think my health journey over the last year has been, this is the first time in my life where I've realized like, oh, I can't just eat like a dump truck and not expect to, actually feel good. So I think there's a lot of misnomers out there, right? About like, you see there's so many options out there food wise that are they're dubbed as healthy, but they might not necessarily be healthy, right? So I know you rattled off some examples already, but when you're shopping, what's easy tools that the average person can keep with them to like help them decide, oh, I want to go with this. This option is going to make it healthier for me than that option would be.
So what I like to suggest to everyone is when you're looking at the layout of a grocery store, stay on the outside. Try not to go into those middle aisles, because those middle aisles are going to have all of those foods that have, those types of toxic ingredients that you do in your body. There are, if you go into those middle aisles, they're going to see things that say, organic or, non-GMO, yada, yada. Always read the labels. It sucks. It takes time, but if you read the label, you can actually look under ingredients and see every little thing they put in there. So you can look for those, the canola oil, natural flavoring, which isn't really natural at all. So always read the labels and just staying on the outskirts of just getting those fresh organic.
You also, it gets expensive shopping on the outside of the aisle too.
It is.
So I think the biggest problem people face is they realize, A, it's not easy to do it, and then B, it's like, why America shops the middle of the aisles, because the food lasts longer, it's got shelf life, it's less expensive, but it's harmful to you, right? I mean, my mom used to say the same thing: shop the outside aisle. The first step is shopping the outside of the aisle, and I always thought like that makes no sense. And as I get older, like Tom said, it's like you said it best, you can't outwork your food. It's impossible. So I teach that to my kids, and they think it's a broken record, but they get mad at me when I say it. So
I'm sure my kids older, they'll probably say the same thing, but
yeah,
you got to do it. You got to make sure you're having an example for your kids.
Yeah. So Allie's the one that turned me on to, and I hate to, bust on Chick-fil-A, but like the MSG and like the double portion of MSG in some of their meals.
That was a deal breaker for you and I.
Yeah. And so I've struggled with migraines all my life. And so MSG has kind of been one of those trigger points that I've been able to identify early on. And so I always read the labels as we're talking about reading labels. And one of the things that I realized is that these manufacturers will put different names for product or chemicals or whatever on the labels. And it's really challenging trying to keep up with all the different names of this one, evil ingredient that's going to cause me to feel like crap, for 12 hours. So it's hard to go there, but are there any tricks to that, Allie? Is there anything to kind of know to watch out for? Or you just got to really dig in and do your research?
You just have to stay knowledgeable about it. It sucks. I'll call out the FDA on this one. And for lack of words, it's fucked up that they do that.
Yeah.
It's like they almost want Americans to be unhealthy.
Right.
The best thing you can do is just read the labels and just try and stay as knowledgeable as possible.
It's funny you say that because we're still in the middle of a pandemic. We wish it was over, but I think the biggest thing I've realized and listening to people talk about is our country got hit the hardest because as a country, we're not very healthy. I mean, we're not, you talk about the center of the aisle, it's easier to buy a bag of potato chips than it is to buy carrots or celery. It's quick, easy. And we're all guilty of it. But I think, those that, say what you want about COVID, but it looks like the majority of people that, had health issues, and one of them being, weight, health, diabetes, all these different things that have to do with what you eat and consume. Mm-hmm. It sounds like we've said it, such an easy fix, but such a hard fix at the same time. Like easy on paper, hard to execute.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think people don't realize, and like I'm sure you guys see on my page a lot, I talk a lot about gut health. 70% of your immune system is in your gut. And I know not the majority of people know that, but so, what you put in your body reflect on your immune system. Eat good things, take your vitamins. I'm not saying it's, cure for all, but if you do the right things, then maybe you'll have milder symptoms when you come across a virus.
Hey, maybe Hulk Hogan's on something. He used to say your prayers, eat your vitamins, right? So,
There you go.
Man, Hulk Hogan, I don't think Hulk Hogan, we got to look and see if Hulk Hogan's had COVID or not, because it could be the, I happen to think it's my red wine and cannabis consumption. So that's why that's why I've not had COVID yet. So,
I just read a study. There's a study done that showed, oh, you're shaking your head. So you saw it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've showed that to everybody. And there's also, we're in the CBD business, and, you use CBD and it's how we've met, but it's CBD and cannabis. There's gotta be something to it, because there's enough where there's smoke, there's fire, right? And I think, I'm not going to go off the rant like Joe Rogan and get Neil Young kicked off any Spotify podcast here, but I don't, Jeremy and I got into this business of CBD and eventually, hopefully, cannabis for a reason that we believe that it works. And, we can't make medical claims, but it works and it's natural. And, you talk about ingredients, our labels only have a few ingredients per items. And, it's important to what you put in your body. And I think we're in this for, I'm hoping that people read and educate themselves on the use of cannabis and CBDs. And we talk about this all the time. It's education, education, education. And I assume it's the same thing with you when you deal with patients and clients. It's educating them on what's been ingrained in their minds for numbers of years, and what is healthy or what's not healthy versus what actually is healthy, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm. And, I think another thing is, people think when you're a personal trainer or a nutritionist, like, you're always tell people to eat baked chicken with broccoli and rice. And while, yes, that's probably super boring food, progress is made in the boring, whether that's weight loss or bettering your health or bettering your, immune system. It's boring, but that's where the progress is made.
Good. Hey, do you tend to lean towards one diet versus another? Or is it based on the individual?
It's really based on the individual, but, it's basically, I think, is pretty basic, just getting the well-rounded organic fresh food. If someone needs a specific diet, then, we'll go over it and go there. But I like very basic.
What's your take on plant-based diet?
If you need it, like, if you're allergic to, animal products, then you obviously have to eat that way. But there's nothing wrong with it. I personally wouldn't do it. I like burgers and beef and chicken, so I could never eat that way. But, if that's what you want to do, then there's nothing wrong with it.
JD, what's the movie? What's the documentary?
Oh boy.
I just thought about it.
Your documentary that you guys were both obsessed with.
What was it called, Tom?
It was Game Changers.
Game Changers.
And here,
have you seen that, Allie?
I'm going off on a tangent now, because I very distinctly remember when the Jeremys and I were working together at a race team, sitting at an In-N-Out burger in California right after you guys had watched it. And you're like, "Oh man, how can you eat that burger? It's disgusting." It was a delicious burger.
By the way, it is, and the fries are our fries were just as good as your burger was. So,
yeah, well, I'll take the burger.
Well, now I'm a pescatarian, eat fish only. So it's, with a few cheats here and there. I gotta be honest. I'm not. It is hard, I'll tell you that. But I'm not sure I could go 100% plant-based. There's no way.
Yeah.
No way.
Hard. I couldn't do it.
It's hard. Eating out's the hardest part.
And that's another thing. People go out to eat, and it's like, what do I get? Like, what's the
right
option to get? And I tell a lot of people, the majority of restaurants use, like, vegetable oil when they're cooking everything. And 9 times out of 10, if you're there, like, you have to be, out to eat or whatever. 9 times out of 10, if you ask them to cook your food in butter instead of vegetable oil, they'll more than likely accommodate it. So then you can, like, kind of get it more healthy than, not.
So butter's better than butter's better than vegetable oil.
Real butter. Yeah.
Real butter. Okay. Got it. I would never have guessed that.
Yeah.
When
You
you
don't
say
want country crock. You want like real butter.
I get it. So
Which might-
yeah.
This and they'll be like, we use country crock.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's one thing I've never had before my entire life is country crock, and I'm gonna go down. I'll probably die never having country crock.
Wow.
Tom?
Yeah, I think I'm a Lando Lakes man.
Yeah. I'm a Lando's Lakes also. GD's country crock?
no.
Come on.
No, my wife uses a sticks of butter, and so I don't even know what it is. I use a grass-fed butter in my coffee.
Of course you do.
There you go.
When I run out of that, I've got some. Was it ghee? Is that how you pronounce it? GHEE? Yeah.
Yep.
So
What the heck is that? Is that butter?
It's like a butter alternative.
Oh,
I think I picked it up at Earth Fair one day.
that makes sense. You walk? Did you wear your Tevas walking in there, or your Birkenstocks? I always feel like I'm coming out there smelling like patchouli.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
For sure.
you walk in, you're like, man, this smells like garbage in here. And you leave, you're like, it's not so bad. After you spend 20 minutes there.
So I'd like to touch on a little bit, and I know it's more than likely a lot of these scenarios with food and everything, it's tailored on the individual, right? But you mentioned vitamins and how they can be such an important part of your daily health and wellness as well. Without going down the path too much of it's tailored for each individual, what do you recommend as kind of like a good baseline of something that is good vitamins to be taking every day to kind of jumpstart that health and wellness feeling?
First and foremost, a multi.
Hmm.
You have to be taking a multi because that has so many different vitamins in it itself that what you need right out of that. So multi, vitamin D, vitamin C. And most people don't get enough fruits and veggies every day, so you can get a fruits and veggies supplement.
Hmm.
And something that a lot of people don't know about is NAC, which I don't know if anyone saw, but I did a post on it. But it's good for your immune system, and people that have like allergies and have like a lot of nasal congestion. It's actually a natural mucus thinner, so that helps with that. So I would say those are your baselines.
Very interesting. No, that's good. I think I've taken a vitamin D and I found it to that's helpful. But no, I definitely, it's interesting. It's part of that education process. It blows me away too when you actually start looking at it of like your recommended values of stuff, and you're like, oh my God, I'm nowhere close to any of these, you know. So interesting. JD Lang, you got vitamins part of your daily diet?
The multi, but it's not regular. It's it's when I remember. That's the problem. Actually, my kids make fun of me because I'm like my in-laws.
Is it shaped like a Flintstone?
Well, my kids eat. No, I used to think Flintstones. You realize you might as well eat Sour Patch Kids. What's the difference, right? So, but I'm actually one of my kids make fun of me because it's like their grandparents and my in-laws that I bring the pill pack with me when we go on trips, and I have per day. So I remember what taking it. My daughter's like, Dad, how old are you? Like, what's going on here? Like, you might as well wear a fanny pack or something. So,
Hey,
it's hard. Once again, it's like eating healthy. It's a daily routine that I know I have to do. I'm not routine enough to do it.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I'm 30 and I have a pill organizer.
I don't feel so bad now.
So much easier.
I'm much closer to 50. So maybe it's more acceptable for JD and I to do it because we're closer to 50. So
I do not have a pill organizer. Just so
do you take vitamins daily?
I don't.
That's why you don't have a pill organizer.
Yeah. I don't. I will take the occasional vitamin C, like from the late fall into early spring, just through the winter time to load up on vitamin C. But I do like. I say that I don't. I make a green smoothie every morning, and so I'm tossing in, your spinach and almond milk and just a lot of different things that go into that. And there's little, gosh, I don't even know what they are. My wife buys them and I just know to put them and scoop them into the smoothie. So, but it's, that's kind of what I stick to.
I can attest to JD's green smoothie in the mornings from coming into work and seeing them stuck to the side of the cup. So it's like seaweed in a glass, looked like.
Do those things ever do you ever actually get those things? Can those things ever actually be cleaned? They look like they're.
Oh yeah. Well, we do.
It's a 1 cup use.
Now.
It's 1 cup and throw it away.
Yeah, we just do a solo cup, so I just trash it after that. But I did spill it one time as I was walking into work. Like I dropped it and it's exploded all over my clothes and everything. My book bag. It was terrible. So green nasty seaweed smoothie, and it was a good look.
So Allie, since this is a CBD and red wine and red wine and CBD podcast, how do you work? So do you ever, I know you use CBD. Do you ever use or recommend CBD to any of your clients?
And definitely recommend it, if it sounds like they need it, which I mean, most people do.
Yeah.
But, I use it for, recovery and to help sleep. So I've talked to a lot of people about it. Like most people don't get adequate enough of sleep. So CBD, here you go. This is going to help you get that sleep that you need. It is part of being healthy.
Yeah. Now we find that a lot of people we talk to, the sleep, the recovery, and just the everyday kind of living needs, CBD helps. And we had a guest on, James Rispoli, and I love this. He says it all the time. CBD is one of those things where you don't realize it's working until you realize it's working. And it's not going to be instant. We talk about that. It's the education process. You can't just take it for one day and think it's going to change the world for you. But, I think he said he was a square and now he's a circle from taking CBD. It just it smooths out the edges and allows things to roll off his back. So, I think that's a perfect example. And I think it's, I was curious how you, if you do recommend it, how you do recommend it. And, I think it's, we do believe it's possible we do believe everyone can benefit from it. Just, it depends on what form of benefit they need.
Oh yeah. And like, even for like mental health and, things like ADD, I have to tell my husband's story because I think it's amazing. When he was a teenager, he was prescribed Adderall for ADD and he was on it for years. And then, a few years ago, he started to really see the effects of not being able to sleep and, being a little moody. And he started researching into natural alternatives and came across cannabis, medical marijuana, and then CBD. So after doing a bunch of research, he said, all right, I'm going to get the CBD and try it out. And I'm happy to say that he hasn't had an Adderall in like 3 years.
That's great.
Wow.
That's great.
That's
you
awesome.
also live in a state where cannabis, medical marijuana is legal. So we don't have that luxury in North Carolina, but you have that luxury in Florida. It's funny because I tell my parents about this all the time. I'm like, you should go get a medicinal card just for the sake of trying to see what happens. They're like, oh my God, it's the educate. My dad automatically assumes that like you get a cannabis medical card and you're like a drug addict. I'm like, no, you're using it to solve problems. I'll walk you through the process. And he's like, well, what do you know about it? So I know a lot about it. Trust me. It's and I just think it's that we've talked about all the time. It's the perception. It's the optics. And, we even said it when we came out with Queen City Green, people were like, oh, your logo's got a cannabis leaf on it. I'm like, well, it's a hemp leaf, but they're one and the same thing, really. So it's, you gotta educate yourself. And so you can combat those questions and those misnomers towards the whole industry, cannabis and CBD and hemp. So.
Yeah, it's amazing that it's still so taboo. Like it's a natural thing. It has so many benefits for so many people. Another little story, our 12-year-old lab has cancer, and I credit the CBD we've been giving her to having her life last a bit longer than it was expected to. So
That's
it's just
awesome.
Yeah. So it's amazing for so many different things and benefits, so many. And it's crazy that it's still so taboo and it's 2022.
Right.
Shouldn't be taboo.
Yeah, we face that daily. I mean, we talk about this. There's so many things you put in your body that you have no idea what's actually. Talk about the foods we talk about, from Advil to Tylenol, all these different chemicals to help with headaches or migraines or just to make you feel better. It's crazy that people are so apprehensive to try something that actually grows in the dirt.
Right.
It
That
drives
comes-
me crazy listening to, oh, sorry. It drives me crazy listening to TV ads for, drugs. And then at the end, they run through all these like terrible things that can happen. It's going to make you vomit. You're going to, poop in your pants, whatever, it's all these things are going to happen. Like, come on, guys. Like, this is like, we're prohibited from advertising in certain areas because of the stigma around CBD and cannabis. And like, it grows in the ground. It's natural. It's a God-given plant. It's not something that's been created in a lab and, this compound versus this compound and chemicals added in. So it's much easier and cleaner for your body. And I think that's why people see the help, that they receive from it, from taking the product. So
it's as easy as grow it, pick it, smoke it.
But
an
example I always think of that blows me away is I used chewing tobacco for years, right? And that is, tobacco is a plant, comes from the ground, right? And has zero health benefits for it and will more than not really mess you up. And quitting it was the hardest damn thing I ever did in my life. But again, it's like somewhere along the line, it was like, oh yeah, no, tobacco's fine. You can have it at 18, but oh no, weed, no, it's not good. Cannabis is no
it
good.
all comes down to money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's politics and money, two things that drive the industries. That's what it comes down to. And, we always joke, we talk about, we could probably solve a lot of financial problems by legalizing cannabis across the entire country. I mean, it's such a crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw yesterday this one. I think it was a state representative out of South Carolina, Nancy Mace, I think is her name, but she introduced a bill for federally legalization of cannabis, and Amazon got behind it and have backed her. So from a big tech company, and basically they're not saying, hey, we're going to sell it on our platform. I'll be real clear about that, but they said that impacts so many of our workers. It'd be great if you just go ahead and legalize it.
Yeah, we don't need a drug test anymore for it, right?
Drug testing, right? Yeah.
You don't test for alcohol. They can drink 24. They can drink. You don't test for alcohol. I mean, if you show up looking drunk, they're going to test you. But it's crazy. I mean, I'm okay with regulations on it, but why it's not legalized nationally, it's just crazy. I mean, Jeremy and I talked about it last week. There was it was Louisiana, I think, JD, the guy that did the campaign ad where he was smoking a joint and puffing, and so it's coming. It just comes down
for
to
government office. I mean, he's running for a government office.
State of Louisiana.
Yeah.
He looked like Biggie Smalls, and
Biggie.
He looked like Biggie just sitting there in a big old king leather chair with minus the crown, but he was definitely smoking a blunt, and there was no hiding it either. It was all like, hey, I'm pro cannabis. So it's coming. It's just gonna be slow.
Yeah, I think it's gonna take at least a few more years to get every state, but slowly but surely.
Is Florida's medicinal only? Do they talk about it? Do they talk about when recreational will be approved?
I feel like off the top of my head, I know they've talked about it, but I'm not too sure.
Usually that's the first domino is medicinal, then it goes to recreational. So we're nowhere, North Carolina is nowhere near medicinal, I don't think. So it happens to be, we're a tobacco state. So I think the tobacco industry has been poo-pooing on cannabis and hemp for years. And it's so fun too. We talk about, it's the same crop, just plant a different seed and grow stuff that actually can heal versus hurt. I mean, it's like Tom said, the tobacco doesn't help you. I mean, it might calm your nerves, but in the long run, it's going to put you in the ground. So
it's amazing. Like, honestly, I chewed for better part of 5 years, and the amount of time it took me to almost like felt like rewire the chemical in my brain for like so many little ticks where it was like, oh, I just put a piece of chew and it would calm my nerves. It's honestly, it's taken 2 years to start feeling like, oh yeah, you know, I can deal with these things without feeling like I need to throw a.
No coincidence that you chew tobacco while you work for me, right?
I still work for you. So.
I know. Is it still, there's no coincidence there that you started working?
Well, yeah, I had to go on the CBD. That's
Switch.
Hey, what's next? I'll just keep filling your vice.
There we go.
What do you want to do next?
There we go. No, so Allie, before we talk about a good way that everyone can find the good stuff that you're doing, I wanted to bring up, I know JD's a father, Lang's a father, and you are the father, or excuse me, you are the Jesus. You're the mother of
father, we got a problem,
boys.
John.
What'd you say?
If she's a father, we got a problem.
Yeah. So you're the mother of twin boys.
Yes.
And I thought it was an interesting conversation of like, as you're raising these boys, and with all the knowledge you have with workouts and fitness and nutrition, what are the things that you try to like instill in them as they grow up to kind of set that foundation so they don't have to have the crazy learning curve like some of the rest of us might have to?
I mean, just teaching them, every day, like they're already learning. They love to work out with me.
Awesome.
If I'm in the living room and I'm doing, squats, they'll run over and they'll start squatting with me. Or if I'm doing yoga, they'll get down and they'll do downward dog and they'll plank. So they're already, they're already on track of being little mini personal trainers. But, just being a good example and showing them, mom and dad are eating these healthy foods. So, I should be eating these healthy foods, which they eat everything we eat. So it's just setting that good example and showing them if you do these things, you will create a good health and, immune system and things like that for yourself.
It's fantastic.
Hey, Allie, you do a lot of, you work out, personal trainer, obviously. One of the things I think is really cool that you're doing through Instagram is some of your workouts and giving people a real quick, hit of here's what you can do. And I just think that's really cool. If people are looking for something that, how long does it take to do one of those workouts, would you say?
Those little move of the days you do. I normally always suggest 4 sets of like 8 to 10 reps. And depending on where you are with your, your level of fitness, I would say max 10 minutes.
Yeah. It's a great way to just kind of get something going. As we talked about, as Tom asked that question earlier, how do you get started? I think that's a great way that you offer to people free, just, following you on Instagram. And then you've got all these great nuggets that you put out about health and food and dieting. And so thank you for investing in the rest of us out here. And it's cool. We appreciate that.
Absolutely. I'm just, trying to change the world, one person, one follower at a time.
That's
Join
right.
the club, Allie. So
That's right. That's right. So as Tom was alluding to, give us your Instagram account handle where people could find you. And that way we make sure we promote that as well. And, but love for people to connect with you and how they can connect with you for the nutrition element as well as the fitness element.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Allie Sebastianelli. I'm hoping that the spelling of my crazy Italian last name will be somewhere.
We'll put it in.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. Follow me on there. If you have any questions, slide into my DMs and I will answer any of your questions.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. And thank you for being such a great ambassador of Queen City Green and all you've done with us in the past. And wish you the best and your family as you guys continue to grow and develop and become little mini personal trainers, as you said. So that's cool.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. It's been fun chatting with you guys.
Thanks, Allie.
Thank you. So be sure to follow Allie on Instagram. Go over to queencitygreen.com, use code redwine25 for 25% off your order of some quality CBD products. Don't be scared to take that first step. You've got some CBD, you can get some great tips from Allie, and you got to start somewhere. So never be afraid to take that first jump. Thank you everybody for listening, and we'll be back in a week or so with another episode. Thanks.
Thank you.